catch up to the likes of Karsa and how much he provides for RNG in the early game.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Broxah return to that proactive style. You know, he made Fnatic, I think, the best early game team in Europe, right? They were so aggressive, so proactive, you know, and he really does need to get to that level if they want to be able to overcome what is an incredibly difficult group.
Going to be very difficult. You can hear the fans cheering as Yumi's banned away by Royal Never Give Up, because that means Fnatic will not be running the Garen Yumi to catch up. Syndra, Gragas, Kiana removed from the pool, and RNG will lock in the Xayah first.
No surprise there, one of Uzi's most comfortable champions. It opens them up to go for the Xayah Rakan on the second rotation, but Fnatic, they shouldn't be they're immediately going for the Kayle and Lee Sin. Bold choice here from Fnatic.
Yeah, this is really interesting, and you know, one of the strengths of Kayle, though, in this current meta is that you can play it in so many different lanes, right? You really can play it as a three-way flex. We saw that the LCK teams were willing to play it as a bot laner as well, and it can withstand so many of these difficult matchups that it could really work out well for them.
We are moving surprisingly quickly through this draft. Both these teams coming in very well prepared with what they want to do, and RNG actually going to concede the Rakan. They don't care about it. We've been seeing a lot of Blitzcrank coming out from Ming, so they clearly have something else on their mind. The question that Fnatic now have is, do they want to go for support? It looks like that's going to be the case.
Morgana coming through, and this is interesting. You know, if you actually are going to pre-pick the Morgana, you're not now necessarily required to then ban out the Rakan. You can kind of leave that up, and you know, if RNG is willing to play it, Fnatic may be just happy to match that in the 2v2 since Morgana can be such a preferential matchup.
Morgana's also great into the Blitzcrank that we've been seeing so much from the side of RNG as well. Good into Rakan, good into the Blitz. It means that RNG will be forced into a different style of support that we're likely going to be seeing from Ming. So Fnatic coming in with a different style already in this draft against RNG.
I am wondering if Kai'Sa is going to be getting banned out whatsoever here, because it has gotten such high priority, you know, at Worlds this far. You know, yes, it has not been a huge pick for Reckless in EU, but it has been so successful at the Worlds level, and it will be interesting to see if RNG is willing to leave that up.
Right now, I'm expecting Fnatic to leave the Gangplank open. It would give them a lot of weaker lanes in the early stage if you're going for a Kayle, but it depends. Right now, it looks like they're trying to ban away Lang Jing's safe side top laners, with the Vlad and Renekton being taken away, and given that Fnatic do have first pick, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually did see the GP ban come out from RNG.
Yeah, Fnatic also has the ability to actually take Aatrox, and then you have essentially banned out his second and third most played, you take away his most played, so there is an opportunity to really try to target Longxing in this draft just by pushing him down in that champion pool.
We've got a couple of seconds left to find out which direction RNG and Fnatic will go, and then we'll get a little bit more of a glimpse into where this Kayle is going. So Gangplank has been removed from the pool. Now the question is, do they go for that Aatrox?
So I think Fnatic will likely look to lock in their AD carry now to keep things as flexible as possible. Remember, the Kayle can go into both top and mid. I would expect it to go into Nemesis's hands. He was the original Kayle player before any of the changes happened, and it's something that he's very comfortable on, but we know that Fnatic does like to be able to flex between those two solo laners if they can, and looks like they're not going to do it. They're going to stick with the Shen for now.
So much for that.
So it does give a dive buddy there to Broxah, you know, allowing him to perhaps set up these four-man plays down on the bot side. If they want to pick for Reckless, look for a 2v2. You know, RNG is going to have to lock in their support here. Then Reckless perhaps could have the ability to choose a preferential matchup and look to play heavily around that bot while we see Nemesis kind of holding the fort in that mid lane. That being said, Ryze is a very difficult matchup for Kayle pre-6, so that is something we're going to have to see if he can really play around to withstand, because it can be an extremely abusive matchup before Kayle turns on that ranged mode.
Yeah, and it's none other than Xiao who's Ryze, very well-known Ryze player, very comfortable on the champion, and we'll see how much impact he has right now. RNG just thinking about what supports they could go for. Karma would make a lot of sense, does very well into the likes of a Morgana because of how easily you can pop her black shield and you can generate a lot of pressure in the laning phase. If Fnatic wanted to go for...
this is Morgana bot. Ooh. This is a farming Morgana, or perhaps even Reckless could be playing the Kayle, but I think it is Morgana as the farming bot lane here for Reckless, assisted by Blitzcrank.
The Swip swap coming out from Fnatic.
And I think this is a response to the Karma, right?
Yeah,
you know, this is something where Blitz Morgana, if you actually hit a hook onto that Karma, that sets up for a free Power Fist, knock him up into the binding. You can 100-0 someone like that.
And vice versa, Dark Binding into hook, Power Fist, etc. Okay, Vedius, what do you make of the compositions now? It seems like a lot of answers to try and mitigate Uzi.
So What I think from Fnatic's comp is they're putting all of the eggs in the Nemesis basket. He is the primary damage dealer on the side of Fnatic. They're basically saying, you know what, we're going to funnel our gold, our resources, everything into you, and you will carry us. With things like the Shen ultimate and the Black Shield from Morgana, along with the Kayle ult, it's going to be very difficult to kill him once you get later into the game.
It really is going to be hard to knock him down, and if this was a couple patches ago, I'd be saying, all right, it's going to be AD Kayle. That's where they're going to be getting their consistent physical damage from, but now the nerfs to AD Kayle, almost everyone is going AP, and if he's going to be going AP as well, I do have some concerns about their damage profile.
Ooh, this is so exciting. Fnatic leaning on the youngest member of the team, the only member that was not there in the 2018 season. And let's see what they can do against Royal Never Give Up. And welcome back to RNG taking on Fnatic. We were very surprised and excited to see the last second changes to the Fnatic draft. And if you look at the mini-map, they are already making their way to the top side of the map. Let's see if they can catch any hooks onto Longxing.
Yeah, Bwimbo's going to see if he can actually bait Longxing to come out and harass him with the Q. If he does that, Blitzcrank and Morgana will be coming behind you. So Bwimbo should be stepping out now.
Oh, look at the pathing. Look at the pathing in that small fog of war.
Oh, he blind hooked.
The hook! Longxing manages to escape for now. The hook misses. And the first skill shot.
Oh, that's too bad there for Fnatic. I think they could have been a bit more patient.
Yep.
And tried to wait until they had eyes on him. And also, Reckless holding onto that binding did allow Longxing to get close enough to the turret that he didn't even need to flash the skill shot.
Oh, so Longxing, he's able to get away with his life. RNG happy in the early game. Fnatic demonstrating some of their creative level 1 strats that they've often showcased here in Europe. But we talked a little bit about Fnatic's comp, and I want to take this opportunity to talk about RNG's comp because it's a little bit more standard, but we'll do that after the replay. Notice the pathing that they take here. This is something that Fnatic have done in the past against G2, where they take this very specific path through so that they do not get spotted, but he goes for the hook blind, he isn't able to land it, and Fnatic do not find first blood.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate for them. The one saving grace of that invade, and something that makes it pretty worthwhile, is this is Gnar starting with E. So you're starting with your hop. So you're actually going to cede lane priority until at least level 2 here for the Shen, which is a nice little advantage there for Bwimbo.
Yeah, and of course, Reckless starting Dark Binding Centaurian as well. We'll see what that can do. I would like to go back to Vedius. You were talking a little bit about the RNG comp and some of the specifics you want to see.
Yeah, so when we initially saw the draft and we saw the Xayah Karma, you would imagine that they had the pushing 2 versus 2. Now, I think in the early laning phase, they still have this. Karma, Xayah will scale very well and will offer a lot of utility and damage later on into the game. Xiaohu will be effective on the side lane, but the thing that you have to be very careful of with RNG is how strong the Rek'Sai is in the early game and how easy it is for Xiaohu to roam around the map. Something that Azael was saying earlier was that this matchup is not great for the Kayle in the early laning phase, and something that Xiaohu loves to do is when he has priority, he will push up mid and move with the jungle into the enemy bot side. And you can see Kasa doing it now, getting a bit of control over the bot side of the map to give freedom to Uzi and Ming to keep a lot of pressure in the 2 versus 2.
The other thing worth noting here is how lane focused the runes are, and they're actually looking to set up a dive here on Nemesis.
Going, there's the unburrowed Nemesis under the tower. Beautiful first blood from RNG. Don't even leave lane to do it.
Yeah, Nemesis just deciding he's already dead, so going to hold onto the flash there and try to avoid a repeat gank. Broxa is up on this top side, but the ward should spot him out if he wants to look for any sort of play.
Guys, I know you said that Kayle into Ryze was going to be difficult pre-6, but surely it's now impossible with this early kill and losing the CS under the tower.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good place for Nemesis to be in. I love the dive here. It's executed so well. Xiaohu takes the initial tower aggro. He stands just at the edge of the tower to allow Caster to deal the damage. And by running Hail of Blades, he has a lot of setup. Now we see the dive in top.
All right, the taunt doesn't land. Whippo has to dash away, embarrassed after Langxing easily escapes the attempt.
Yeah, Weibo had to really rush that because there was only one minion left for that tower to actually be on, so they did kind of have to rush out to go for that. And you can see this trading pattern is going to be so bad for Nemesis in the early stages, and this is kind of amplified by the fact that it's actually Comet here for Xiaohu on the rise. We can see it's Comet on the Karma, it's Hail of Blades on the Rek'Sai. They really want to try to ramp up the pressure in this early game and play for lane advantages.
And this is one of the problems that Fnatic's comp inherently has. They don't have a lot of control in the early game. We talked so much about how we wanted to see Fnatic have more impact, more influence in the early laning phase, but it's hard because RNG have strong matchups all across the board. The only reason why Langxing is behind right now is because, as Azael said, he was forced to start with the E, so we can't generate as much pressure, but it gives Casa all this freedom to pretty much go wherever he wants to on the map.
It certainly doesn't. While I will say the 2v2 right now is not preferential for Fnatic, their gank assistance is incredible. So if they can get Broxah down there, if he can be unspotted to join in that lane, then all of a sudden that 3v2 becomes incredible because Lee Sin can provide that additional damage, and certainly they have the lockdown with this Fnatic bottom lane.
And of course, one of the things I want to go back to after this dive is Hylissang is going to be on a roaming support if he can find some impact. Very good unburrow. Spirit's Refuge comes up with Whippo. Casa stays alive. Not going to find the kill just yet. But here comes Broxah. Going to get unburrowed again. Needs to find the Sonic Wave. Flash. E manages to get the auto. I think he's held on to the Q. That's the first kill for Fnatic. And now they're chasing Langxing.
Yeah, so well handled there by Whippo. And Broxah wants to try to look for this Q. Oh, not quite enough range there, but Whippo landing that early taunt onto Karsa really did force them to kind of push him out. You would have likely preferred Langxing to actually take tower aggro because he can sit right on the edge of that turret aggro.
And props to Whippo. The man has had a difficult first 2 days of Worlds, but the way he played this, flawless. He lands the taunt into the immediate Spirit's Refuge, which means that the Hail of Blades Rek'Sai doesn't do any damage. He's then forced to immediately disengage. I thought the tower shot was going to be enough to find the kill, but fortunately for Fnatic, Broxah is in the top side of the map and can clean up costs. He doesn't take the gamble with the Q, flashes in, lands the E, finds the kill.
And that's one of the first times we've seen Broxah finding an opportunity in the early game. You can see kills plus assist at 15-0 thus far. Down 1,000 gold, obviously has not been the greatest early games for Fnatic, but a very different style of comp, and very good to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we know how good Broxah can be from ahead, right? When he can get these advantages, how good he is at snowballing the game, and thankfully now for Fnatic, Nemesis has hit 6 in the mid lane. Yes, there is a big advantage there for Xiaohu, but at least the kill went to the Rek'Sai and not to his lane opponent, so hopefully he can start to stabilize this matchup, and things will get easier as you do get those additional points in queue and you start to really up your wave clear.
And something you were saying earlier, Azael, was how when Reckless and Hylissang get a few more levels under their belt, there's potential for gank setup, but also there's more wave clear at their disposal. Morgana, when she has 3 points in the Tormented Soil, I believe it's called, it provides a huge amount of wave clear and it will just immediately kill the caster creeps, which means that they can actually be the ones to start generating pressure in the bot side of the map. And while Whippo has lost pressure onto the top side, it gives Broxah the opportunity to start playing around bot and helping Reckless and Hylissang get to a stage where they can start looking for these picks.
And then can you talk a little bit about Hylissang on the Blitzcrank? One of the things we talked about, we wanted a roaming support. We wanted a champion that he can impact other lanes. With the wave clear and push that Morgana has, the rocket grab is going to instantly kill Ming. And look, this time Broxah comes to him, but obviously Hylissang can start moving wherever he wants as well.
And him coming to the bottom lane now is going to help to unlock Hylissang to leave that bottom lane, right? You get the kill there, you can start to move around the map, you can gain that pressure, and this is going to unlock the Ocean Dragon.
You're completely right, Azael. We were just talking about how once the Morgana and Blitzcrank get a couple levels under their belt, they can start generating pressure in the 2v2, and Broxah can start to look to play around this lane. He then finds a successful kill. We're going to have a look back at it. Note that there is no vision in the river because Ming and Uzi could not push out after the reset. They're able to land a flash. Ming does not respect, and he doesn't flash out of the way, which means that the combined crowd control guarantees the pick.
I've also got to say, I really like the timing on the binding there from Reckless. Instead of just an instant binding out of the hook, he waited until that knock-up was actually expiring to land it, and Ming is going to have to flash basically every hook that is on point, or you're at risk of just dying 100-0.
And now Reckless is level 6. Hylissang is the same. I imagine he's going to look to base, grab early Mobies or early boots, and we'll start to see the roaming Hylissang, because Reckless, he can just play 1v2 in this lane now. You don't need to play around this Morgana, you just want him to survive, you just want him to stay healthy. But it's difficult to read the mind of Hylissang.
Ooh.
Looks like he's going for a couple more cheeky plays in the bot lane.
He was trying. Now, Ming is going to throw out that empowered Q, get some damage down. And Caster's making his way down again, as you mentioned. But, like you said, unlocking Hylissang is one of the keys that has been crucial for Fnatic to win this summer. And when they found their groove, as it stands, Nemesis and Reckless just a little behind in CS, but as a team, they are marginally up on goals.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see if they try to force a play, because Bwipo did get the leap out of Longxing there, so it's a slight vulnerability, but it is just going to be Brox actually covering Bwipo as he is shoving in this wave, and they haven't had eyes on Karsa for quite some time.
Both junglers trading areas of the map pretty much throughout this game, except for that one counter gank we saw up top lane. Whenever Broxa is pathing up towards top, Karsa is gaining control over the bot side of the map, and that's why we're seeing a lot of ebb and flow in who has control and when. I think we could already see a notable improvement in Brox's pathing and how he's doing a lot more to cover for the entire map and not making these silly mistakes. As now Hylissang looking for the row.
Flash hook, trading flashes. I think they're going to be happy with that.
I absolutely love that. Yeah, just make him trade the flash. As soon as Xiaohu actually walked to the left of the turret against the wall, there's no sidestepping it. So utilizing the speed up with the Blitzcrank W, as well as the speed up from the Kale's heal, he closed that gap so fast.
And now RNG are getting out of the lane. They're moving up towards top side. They're looking to set up plays around the Herald, and they want to try and use the big stacking wave that they have up top to try and accelerate the pace of the game. Because something that RNG do incredibly well is move their bot lane effectively around the map. And they're trying to take advantage of the fact that the Morgana early on cannot match the Xayah and the Khan.
That makes a lot of sense. And coming into this game, we were hoping for a little bit of an AD matchup if possible, but obviously the Morgana threw a spanner in the works. Rift Herald will be picked up here uncontested for now. Hylissang, he's looking for a rocket grab, going fishing. We'll find one. Divine Judgment comes down, buys enough time, but look at the shields. Stopwatch comes out. Here comes Bwipo. Stand United completes. Oh, that's a huge no! Longxing shuts Fnatic against the wall, and the Realm Walk was looking for a chase, but they get 2 kills, they get the Herald, and they get out.
RNG find a massive fight at the Herald, and this went way better than they expected as Broxa.
Oh, what's that coming over the wall? He's got a flash to safety. Almost got Ming, but not enough damage yet.
But this was Fnatic trying to force a fight that they were not in a position to force. The Herald was already gone. They are not strong enough to be able to contest at this point in the game, and this is the variability in performance that you often see from Hylissang. He charged up into the front of things when the Herald is already gone. You can see that he's looking for a pick, but Reckless isn't in position. Broxa is disengaging. And while he has a lot of tools to keep him alive, Fnatic, there's no way they realistically come out ahead in this fight.
Yeah, they just didn't have the damage and kind of the setup at this point in the game. You know, you saw how much survivability you have with the Shen ult, with the Black Shield, with the Kayle ult, but as soon as Longxing gets in there for the ultimate, the fight was absolutely over.
And RNG, they take a commanding lead as they come out of the fight. I mean, Brox's got a decent amount of damage. You have to imagine if the Ian and Auto had hit, it would be close.
Yeah, that would have been a kill. That would have been a kill.
But unfortunately, it doesn't happen. So RNG accelerated 1,000 gold up. You can see Xiaohu and Karsa currently leading the way. As the rest of the team are now jockeying for control. 3 kills to 2. No towers down yet, but the shenanigans of moving around the map. Top laners find themselves down bottom, and a lot of members of RNG are moving to the top lane right now.
We're now seeing Hylissang roam around a lot. Oh, great interrupt onto the Herald. Will buy Fnatic a lot of time. Hylissang still no flash.
Yeah, Hylissang's in so much trouble. Will just get taken down. Can't even finish the channel on that static shield. The RNG fans here in Berlin going crazy as they pick up their 4th kill.
You know, honestly, not that bad, though, giving the supports life. You know, you are going to get 320 gold for the turret plates, and perhaps that turret then goes down. So as long as RNG doesn't take a turret while Hylissang is off the map, I think it's a reasonable trade.
Definitely works out in their favor, I suppose, especially if you can hold on to this laning phase, extend it a little bit more, buy time for Nemesis on Kayle to get items. Yeah, I heard it and I was like, I'm not going to commit. But, you know, Vedius, you said it a little while ago that Nemesis played Kayle even pre-rework. He actually picked up a pentakill on that champion against Vitality in Spring. And I'm a little surprised to see Fnatic leaning so heavily on him when you see all of the support tools. But let's see if he's going to deliver as this game plays out. For now, RNG will pick up their first dragon of the game. No shenanigans in the mid lane, and Fnatic are pushing top tower.
So what's important to reinforce is at this point in the game, RNG are much stronger than Fnatic. at one item, they should just be able to outmuscle a lot of what Fnatic try and do. And Fnatic want to just trade sides of the map. Not contesting for that Ocean was the best case scenario for them because they can't afford to. Getting more gold onto Nemesis is the ideal because you want to get him online, 2 to 3 items, and then once you're at that point, you can start looking for team fights.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing here for Fnatic is that they have options to actually avoid RNG in this game, right? They're not playing just a pure 5v5 comp. You can have Kayle in one side lane. You can see the Titanic Hydra built up from Bwipo here, so he's going to be heavily focusing on that split push. And as you spread RNG out across the map, that's going to open up opportunities for this roam squad kind of here of Broxah and Hylissang to find picks.
All right, well, the turret plates have now finished off, and hopefully Hylissang can find some more successful picks to keep this gold close. It's still 2,000 if Fnatic are down. As we're about to hit the 15-minute mark, one of the things we talked about coming into this match was Uzi versus Reckless. We heard Reckless talking about the matchup in the pre-game interview, and we looked at some of the stats. The main one I want to focus on is that Uzi versus Reckless is 8 wins and 1 loss. And while the CSD and damage per minute
It's going to be a little skewed
it will be skewed, right? and that's why I want to kind of focus more on the 8-1 record. Reckless actually commented quite directly that social media and Reddit's blowing it out of proportion. And we're not saying they're completely mismatched. We're just saying Uzi finds the difference every time they have played to have a phenomenal win-loss against him.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons for that phenomenal win-loss is that oftentimes in the past, Fnatic was essentially RNG light, right? They were all about the 5v5. They were all about Reckless, and they just did it slightly better. I think one of the reasons that a lot of people are giving Fnatic more of a chance this year against RNG is because they have developed more of a different play style where they have roaming, they play side lanes, and you are not now just trying to imitate what RNG is doing, and I think Fnatic is really set up well to kind of have some success in this game.
And the team composition screams it, doesn't it? Morgana, Blitz, bot, Kayle mid. This is as far from Garen Yuumi as you can get. And so far, there are elements of it that's working, but they are still falling behind. That Rift Herald play hurt them so much.
The big question mark at the end of the day for Fnatic is how will Nemesis deal with the responsibility of carrying? Because this is his first international event. This is his first year with Fnatic. And while he definitely had a great split, now all of the eggs are on the Nemesis basket. And we know that Uzi and Xiaohu are more than comfortable to carry, given their many years of experience. But can Nemesis do the same thing?
Oh, man. Langxing's just going to run down. Bwipo forces out the flash. Meganar's about to prop, and that will be the ultimate coming backwards. Brox has already used the ulti. He's jumped in. Langxing down below 1,000. Broxah continues to chase. He'll at least get the flash out. So therefore, it's a trade of flashes between the respective top laners.
Now, Langxing had to flash there because Bwipo was just about to base and had the ulti. If he had continued to persist in the fight, it would have turned into a 2 versus 1, which he just didn't want to take. Speaking of ultis...
All right, there, Xiaohu's already flashed. There's the chase. Realm Warp coming out. That's a blown up Xiaohu. Third kill for Fnatic.
Yeah, huge play there for Fnatic, utilizing Bwipo to actually knock down Xiaohu and get his flash just after Broxah forces the flash out of Langxing. So this is going to give Fnatic a lot of priority in the side lanes and may put a little bit of pressure on RNG to try to get something done around Uzi.
And this is what Fnatic want to do in the interim while they're still scaling up. Look for picks. We already talked a lot earlier about the roaming gank squad of Broxah and Hylissang, but now they can use the Shen ultimate to show up on the side lanes as well, and this is a great example of it. Xiaohu, he's holding onto his flash, he dodges out from the taunt, he nearly gets out with the ulti, but the combined burst damage of Bwipo and Nemesis at the last second was enough to secure the kill.
Yeah, that Shen Q plus Titanic Hydra, like that is actually quite a punch in the early game. You can put out quite a bit of damage with it.
And of course, if you look at the itemization, Gunblade picked up for Nemesis, got himself that Stinger for now. Stinger on the other side, Xiaohu working his way towards the Archangel. So pretty much one big ticket item across the board. And it's very close as we're going towards 20 minutes. But surprisingly, still only one tower down. Fnatic have been proactive enough in moving on the map. Uzi's just not really had a lot of time to hit those towers, and it's Fnatic with the only advantage right now.
Now remember, RNG, it's not like they need to force anything now. It's that at around 2 items, RNG's comp spikes really hard. And that's where I want to really see them press the advantage. Dragon is spawning in about 20 seconds. They should be able to get this uncontested. And once those second items come through, that's when I want to see RNG looking to force more fights, looking to set up around Barons and towers, and trying to force Fnatic into situations where they're not ready to be in yet.
I also think that RNG, has a kind of a more consistent team fight comp, right? Fanatics is very reliant upon hitting the skill shots. Can you land the hook? Can you land the binding to get these sorts of setups to take down the likes of Uzi? Whereas RNG, if they're able to avoid some of these skill shots, so much consistent damage is going to be coming out from Xiaohu and Uzi, who is running the cleanse to try to account for that, and also has Xayah ultimate to dodge out more.
Well, let's see if those skill shots will connect this time around, Azael, because RNG, they pulled the Mountain Drake and they backed away. Did they get the teleport on Nemesis? Yes, they did. Now Fnatic, they've started it off. TP is up for Lang Xing, and he hasn't TP'd yet.
Wow. So, Caster actually went into the pit. He does have flash, but he doesn't need to use it. He's going to use the tunnel to get out of that situation. I am surprised by the fact that RNG were forced off the situation, but the biggest problem for them was that this mid lane, they did not have control over it. Fnatic set up push, and they also had push in the top side, and RNG felt the need to go and answer those two waves. As a result, they disengage off the Drake, and Fnatic as 5 members can easily come up and secure it. It did cost them the teleport away from Nemesis, so RNG does have the TP advantage, meaning Fnatic probably want to wait a little while before they try and force another engage. The
other thing dangerous as RNG, if you match the teleports, then Fnatic inherently is going to have the advantage with the Stand United, right? So then they can look to make plays, odd number plays, and perhaps RNG just not too concerned about giving up that dragon.
Yeah, and not only the Stand United, there's an extra TP on the side of Fnatic as well. So 2 additional globals to play with. If you can find those picks that leads to objectives for Fnatic and maybe avoid the 5v5s that you really don't want to go toe-to-toe with RNG with, it is another avenue they can look to exploit.
And this is why I like that Fnatic is actually playing pretty aggressively, right? They're willing to commit teleports to do the objectives. We're seeing Hylissang trade flashes multiple times throughout the game, because anytime you're running a Shen comp, I think you want to be constantly forcing responses out of your opponent so that you can get advantage of that extra global, and even more so in this game where you have an additional teleport on top of that.
And just a reminder, of course, that we're 20 minutes into this game. This is now the last game that these teams will play in the first half of the group stage. They've both lost to SKT. They've both beaten Clutch. This is the first taste of what could determine the second place team in this group, unless somebody's able to find that upset win over SK Telecom. So there is a lot on the line in this group, and that is assuming, of course, that Clutch don't upset and surprise everyone. They really can play spoiler at the moment, and they'll be playing SKT next. The group will be blown wide open if they were able to pick up a win there.
So we've been talking a lot about items throughout this game and like points at which teams will look to fight, and I feel RNG is very close to a point at which they should feel comfortable forcing a lot of these fights. The thing that they need to be concerned of is how Nemesis is now level 13. I believe he's actually ahead in gold up against his lane counterpart as well, and he's just been, thanks to Kleptomancy and all the resources that have been funneled into him, actually very strong as well. So these fights at this point in the game probably is not as clear-cut as we necessarily expect them to be.
And then it also goes down to the Black Shields, the Divine Judgments, the Rocket Grab, the Silence. If you use those in the right order, it's a higher difficulty of execution on Fnatic, but it can help them out as well.
Yeah, it certainly can. And I mean, you always have to think about when you see a composition like this, the Kayle Morgana combo. When you have Kayle ultimate down and Black Shield, you are immune to everything. There's no CC that can come through. There's no damage that you can hurt you. And as you get later and later into the game, and the Kayle ultimate, gets longer and longer than the cast time, you're left with this window of opportunity where no one can stop the Kayle whatsoever in any way, and you can put out incredible amounts of damage.
Can I ask your opinion? What do you think of the Nemesis build? We've got Gunblade into Nash's Tooth. Where does he go from there? And we were talking a little bit about that beforehand.
Yeah, so this is pretty standard these days ever since AP kind of has become more effective. I think because you are the solo damage threat, I think you just continue to build more aggressively. Things like a Death Cap can make a lot of sense. Traditionally, we do see a lot of Zhonya's Hourglass third if you are worried about the dive and perhaps want a response to that, but I think he can afford to go fairly aggressive.
Yeah, I think that the itemization right now is, I'm a big fan, and I think that it'll end up doing a lot of damage. It's ultimately what Fnatic want. And they're also looking for a pick right now. Hylissang on his way.
All right, he's looking for a target. Banshee's Veil and Xiao, who is worth so much money right now. Spooky Ghost spots out a couple members of RNG, but you have to find some way to pop that Banshees before you can get in.
I like how RNG reacted here. They were confident that Fnatic would not start the Baron, so they didn't phase check. And it felt like they were aware of a possibility of Fnatic looking for a pick. So they just sent Lang Jing down to bot lane, set up that push, and then they just kind of cautiously hovered around the Baron. They maintained control over their half of the jungle without overextending, which means the moment Fnatic revealed themselves, no one ends up going down, and it's RNG that actually get to collect the farm and create a point of pressure on the map.
There's still 1,500 gold up. Now this time around, Fnatic are going to call the bluff. Their blue trinket from RNG is being blinded by the control ward. Now another ward comes over the wall. Now it's finally done. Hylissang's looking for a fish, looking for the rocket grab. Decides to hold the trigger for now. Stand United and TP is available for Bwipo. He doesn't use either.
One of the things we're going to have to remember also with the Kayle, a strength here between Ocean Dragon and your W spam, that is healing 2 people. You actually have fairly good sustain and the ability to constantly start up objectives like this and shrug off a lot of the damage that they will deal.
You're also seeing how Fnatic are forcing RNG to come and face check them, and no one wants to face check a Morgana Blitzcrank because you're going to, oh, Reckless.
All right, that's a very good black shield. The teleport comes out. No, the Realm of Brother comes out as well. Reckless flashes down.
Yeah, that is the flash, and that gives RNG access now into this barren area. They are going to be able to clear out all the Fnatic vision, get some of their own down here, and try to establish control really for the first time in that area.
Let's see what Nemesis does with his reset. We'll just pick up the Blasting Wand, and it felt like that he was getting very close to his 3rd itemization there, but the main point is that, as you were saying, is that RNG have been able to reclaim a little bit more map control. And I'm surprised by how defensively they're playing. But one of the things I think we haven't really talked about is how difficult it is for RNG to actually engage. Remember that a lot of the fights that they started came off the back of Ming on his Blitzcrank, running up and basically doing what Hylissang's doing, forcing you into situations where you have to come and fight RNG. However, now they have to rely on a flank from Langjing or a flank from Caster to actually find that initiation, and they're not actually able to successfully find those picks, which means that Fnatic just gets to sit back and continue to scale.
Well, Xiaohu's going to take that teleport to the top lane. This will be the 2nd of the game. I'm looking at the vision to see whether or not RNG can find those flanks right now, because Fnatic did a fairly good job of holding on to Baron sort of river control for a few minutes until that attempted gank onto Reckless, and Nemesis is stepping forward. He gets minion blocked. Not going to go down yet. He still had the Divine Judgment if it was needed, but this will be a tower trade, and he's not going to go for Langjing yet. Here comes Broxah, and he's too late.
Yeah, and this is really nice, just swapping Nemesis, changing up those lane assignments over into Langjing. The Kayle certainly can answer this Gnar a lot better at this point in the game, and you know, Bwipo is itemizing fairly defensively here, has picked up a cow, and he's going to be kind of parked in this side lane, it seems like, against the Rise, trying to help deal with him.
Now, who do you favor in that side lane? Kayle at this point, who's level 14, 2.5 items, because he seems to... Nemesis seems to definitely have Langjing's number. Now Hylissang's in trouble, got the flash available, will not find the rocket grab onto Uzi as he fades away. And RNG start to threaten the Baron if Fnatic play the rest.
That's starting it.
All right, they are starting it indeed. What is the response here? Teleports, remember, still available. He's got it up for Nemesis. Mega Gnar is now procced for Langjing. Broxah and
doesn't
they're
know.
pushing mids.
Caster's taking so much damage from the Baron, though, and between him and Xiaohu, they actually don't have the survivability to secure this, which means that Fnatic, they didn't have to do anything. A play was being happened, and they had no idea what was going on, and they still got away with it.
How much do you criticize Fnatic for being unaware? Because now, obviously, RNG attempted and failed, but do you think Fnatic should have known? Do you think they should have had vision?
I mean, you can make the argument that maybe they should have kind of been aware that someone's off the map, but I think they're making the read that at this point in the game, RNG can't do it without Uzi and Langjing, who were both showing on the map, right? And they were clearly correct in that read.
Well, listen, 26.5 minutes in, the next Ocean Drake goes down. It'll be an Infernal before we expect an Elder to come up. Nemesis is taking a lot of damage from Langjing. He was about to proc the Mega Gnar. Take a look at your CS numbers on screen, by the way. 316 in nearly 27 minutes for Uzi. He saw what Chovy was doing yesterday and said, I can do better. Fantastic.
Honestly, sounds like he's slacking a little bit, to be honest, compared to normal Uzi performances, quick shot. But, of course, the man... He's always praised for building these massive CS discrepancies.
It helps into a Morgana.
And how efficient he is with his farming as well. But Uzi now level 15. We did get to see his gold just a little bit ago, and you can see that he was sitting on the highest amount in the game, along with Xiaohu and Langjing. And RNG, we talked about it earlier, they're good to fight. Yep. They're ready to go. But Fnatic aren't taking any of the bait. Fnatic are not coming into them. It's actually RNG who are getting caught out.
It was a catch onto Ming. Nothing else has happened, though. No further follow-up. Teleport will start to be channeled. That looks like Nemesis coming in from base. He's now picked up the Liandry's Torment and has level 16. We'll get some time to discuss the build in a few seconds, but look at the damage going down into Hylissang. He throws out the static field. Nemesis gets tagged by a couple of feathers and is running for his life, but I think the rocket grab is still available for Hylissang.
Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of the Liandry's. I think because of your consistent DPS that comes out, the burn damage will build up, and as Kayle, you just get more and more damage, so it adds a bit of health, and I think that against this comp, especially when there is a decent Manifest.
Round warp.
Oh, the flank.
Round warp. RNG are looking for the fight with the Mega Gnar. They've caught themselves onto Helisang. He gets the black shield and will get taken down. Now to focus. Uzi is being shut down and pushed out of the fight. It's a split. 5 versus 4. Divine Judgment still available for Nemesis. It needs to be crucial. It's thrown down, and they will keep Nemesis alive. He stepped backwards for now. Caster below 400 HP. He gets the unburrow onto Reckless. Now Whippo spreads refuge into the torch. Will not buy enough time. RNG have found 3, and they turn towards the Baron.
Yeah, there's still 5 members alive on the side of RNG. They're going to start this one off. It all comes down to whether or not Broxah can steal the Baron.
Broxah, he's got Flash, he's got Smite, he's got Dragon Rage, but he's got to deal with Langxing. Nemesis is below half HP. Baron at 3,000. Broxah's being forced away. Xiaohu comes in for backup. That is a clean Baron defense, and RNG accelerate their lead.
Yeah, no chance for Broxah to steal that one, and RNG initiate the fight very nicely here, utilizing the Realm Warp right on the Mega Gnar timing here for Langxing. Right as he's actually gnarring out, they send him in. Hillisang has to go in full retreat, but the Black Shield is late there on the stun coming through. Karst is able to flash over, and they're taking him down. Meanwhile, Fnatic had pushed Uzi out of the fight, but you have to deal with Xiaohu, and the amount of damage here is just incredible.
Fnatic end up getting divided in this fight, and RNG, they just buy their time. They dance in, they dance out, and they use their range and mobility to be able to consistently close the gap against Fnatic. And a lot of the damage comes from Nemesis. He wasn't able to dish it, which means that RNG end up coming out on top.
And of course, that What's Your Move replay allows RNG a 4,000 gold lead, 7 kills to 3, and the Baron buff as they can start to push down Fnatic's base.
And I think one of the most impressive things about that team fight for me was simply how spread RNG maintained, right? You know, they have such good team fight discipline, never grouping up for what could have been a flash ultimate from the Morgana. You know, Reckless had that available for almost the whole fight and did have to just flash and ult one person trying to retreat in the end. RNG's positioning is just immaculate as they kind of keep this semi-circled around you.
And we talked a few minutes beforehand how RNG were looking for a fight, but the tools they had available. Well, if you can't get a flank, just force it with Realm Warp, and that's exactly what happened. One thing to note, how difficult it's going to be for Fnatic to clear these waves out. Baron empowered minions, with the Kayle and the Morgana, it's going to take a long time.
But look, RNG is setting up on the side waves as well. They have Xiaohu in the top lane. They have Langxing in the bot lane. With the Baron, it's very easy for RNG to just threaten the base at multiple points from Fnatic. And while they do have Nemesis, he doesn't have teleport. Whippo will have the ulti if he wants to try and join in the event of a force. But right now, RNG just have too much pressure on the map, and Fnatic will be forced to concede at least some of their base.
Yeah, they certainly will. And it gets really difficult. Every time Nemesis has to come and group up with the rest of the team, Xiaohu is given time to actually push up, and RNG is backing off anytime Kayle is not on the map to not give Fnatic any opportunity of having a positive fight.
Yeah, that's already 2 towers down. A third looks like it might go down in a moment. 3,500 gold Baron power play. And as that mid lane outer was being sieged, Ming got caught by the Dark Binding. I love that instantaneously Caster steps forward and it's like, what are you going to do, Hilly? Do you want to grab me? You've got no backup. You've got no support. The team is just playing the split push perfectly. They even get an Infernal on the way out and still 45 seconds at the Baron.
Yeah, so quite a nice power play there for RNG. You know, not massive, but an additional 3,600 gold in the lead for them is a big deal. And while we are in kind of this reset, I want to talk a little bit more about the Liandry's. And with Liandry's, everyone does always talk about the burn, which is very powerful. It's an efficient item, you know, even just with that. But something that's often overlooked is actually the Madness passive, which stacks up to 10% flat more damage during a fight. So for a champion like Kayle that is getting a lot out of the AP, as well as that true damage, or, excuse me, magic damage burn, the flat 10% is also an incredible amount of damage.
Yeah, it definitely stacks up, and if you're going to be burning through Xiaohu's shields and Langxing's Mega Gnar, it takes time. But look at that damage onto Hillisang. Uzi's Featherstorm comes out. There's a teleport coming down. Caster gets the Unburrow onto Hilly. Static Field will buy some time, and the Dragon's Rage sends them backwards. Nemesis holds on to his ultimate, and Bwipo, no TP, no Stand United. They just concede Hilly's life.
Yeah, they just leave the support to the Wolves. RNG more than happy to pick that kill up, and for now they don't need to force. They know that the Baron is spawning in 2 minutes. They feel that they can get a good fight around that objective, and I also love the itemization that we're seeing from Uzi. Something that we said at the beginning of the game was that there's a single damage profile pretty much. It's all coming off of Nemesis. It's all magic damage, and it makes it that much harder to kill Uzi, especially given that he has the additional peel of Ming. And while it is hard for RNG to find these fights, they've been pretty creative in how they found a lot of these flanks. And I think that now they have so much control over the map in terms of wave setup and the river control. It's now Fnatic who's in an awkward position where they have to find a pick, otherwise they can't be the team to find a fight.
Yeah, and getting those picks becomes more and more difficult, right? You know, when you're looking at all of this vision that RNG actually has, you know, they're essentially extending their vision all the way across the map, almost to this line, right? Less and less of the map is becoming kind of these safe dark zones that Blitzcrank and Morgana really want to play in, because at this level, you expect these players to be able to dodge Blitzcrank hooks that they see coming.
Man, it's been such an exciting game thus far, and Fnatic, you have to imagine they still have the ability to disrupt RNG if they can be setting plays up. But when they get caught out, it's trouble. Stand United this time is channeled. Divine Judgment is going to get needed in a moment. It's thrown down onto Nemesis. Xiaohu goes forward, goes backwards, and now Whippo's in trouble. Langxing's about to gnaw out. Flash is available as well. He throws the boulder. It hits Reckless. Reckless has already thrown the flash down. Manages to catch the Dark Binding, but the rest of RNG are pushing for the base.
Yeah, they're going for the base, and Xiaohu's looking to wrap around here potentially.
All right, another boulder toss. That throws down to Nemesis. There may have been enough acting from Fnatic to pull RNG away from the inhibitor turret, at least for a few seconds.
So much praise needs to be given to Xiaohu for how, in every single fight, he is single-handedly eliminating Nemesis. With a single combo, he pretty much removes Nemesis' health bar, which makes it impossible for him to get into the fight once again. This Rise pick for the mid laner of RNG is a game changer.
It definitely is, and we see, you know, with the death cap completed, he has the Spellbinder's Orb. He has been incredible, right? You know, and he's sitting at such a strong point in the game now. Rise scaling is so powerful.
And of course, he's sitting 2-1-5, 400 gold bounty, 3-0-4 for Langxing's Gnaw. Been fantastic. This is a teleport coming in, looks like from Whippo. And it's going to be the case. Now, Baron's been started. If you look at the minimap, RNG are very nearby. Hylissang steps forward. This is potentially do or die for Fnatic. There's going to be a fight inside the pit. Whippo will not find the taunt. Static Field will go down from Hylissang, but the Megadon comes out. 3 more members of Fnatic are chopped down. Divine Judgment needs to do something here for Nemesis. 4 versus 3. Uzi flashes forward. He gets Hylissang. The feathers fly, and they've come back. 1-2 for Nemesis. He needs to find more. Xiaohu is low, but Uzi finishes it off. There's not enough damage from Fnatic.
And RNG can close the game off of this. Everyone wiped off the map. They are going to push down mid. Nemesis so close to having the heroics, but it won't be enough.
And when it matters most, Uzi comes up clutch. The star for RNG wins the team fight and will take the win over Fnatic.
Fantastic performance from RNG as they will close out the first half of groups 2-1.
Nemesis was so close in the final team fight for bringing it back to Fnatic, but the dance from Xiaohu and Uzi was just so beautiful to watch. These two were so incredible. Xiaohu would set up the plays, and Uzi would just knock him down.
I agree. I mean, you have to look at the positioning. You have to look at the ability to always avoid a grouped up situation where Reckless could get a good ultimate. There was no opportunity, it felt like, for him to do so. And that is because the immaculate positioning here and team fighting from RNG. This is how they have made a name for themselves on the international stage. And they show why they are a team to be feared here at Worlds 2019.
Absolutely the case. I've thoroughly enjoyed every single one of RNG's games thus far in groups. I enjoyed this Fnatic game a little more than I did the 2 previous ones, but it is a difficult task ahead on Saturday. And all 4 teams from this group will come back to the stage again. And for Fnatic now sitting, they'll be watching Clutch versus SKT, hoping Clutch can find an upset, just increasing the chances of being one of those teams to make it out of groups.
Yeah, they're going to have to maybe depend on a little bit of help, but we have seen Fnatic come back from 0-4 in group stages and make incredible runs, so they're certainly far from being out of it. And I know a lot of people are going to throw criticism towards the Blitzcrank, didn't have a good score line, didn't, you know, be able to accomplish that much, but I do respect the attempt here.
I agree.
From Fnatic, you know, and so many times at Worlds we're crediting the innovation and the change of play style, and I think Fnatic is trying to find something that really is going to kind of upset the tournament.
For me, I felt that we saw a lot of poorly set up and executed fights from the side of Fnatic, but it just goes to show how talented RNG is at team fighting. And I really want to give so much praise to Zhao